Shirts and skins, let's get it. Yo. Shirts and skins and we back again. The best coverage in college sports, we come to win. With Brandon, Mark, and Matt, no one go hard as that. Share it with your folks and they'll learn where it all be at. It's just three of the guys, childhood friends that be setting the vibe. With a few hot takes, jokes, and predictions. Love the Boise State, we now welcome you to listen. Shirts and skins, let's go.
Bronco Nation, what is up? You are listening to the Shirts and Skins podcast. I am Matt Lamb. Across from me is Mark Moss. To my right is Brandon Minert. Howdy, gentlemen.
What's up?
Hey.
We've got a great show planned for today. Special guest with us in studio, co-host of Idaho Sports Talk on 95.3 The Ticket.
Nice.
Mike Prater is here in studio. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Awesome, guys. Oh, look at that.
Big time, yeah.
You guys are big time.
Big time guest.
No, I'm honored. I appreciate what you guys do, and I can't sit here and say that I watch every second of what you do, but what you've done to get to this point is cool, and we need more of this in this town. So,
Mike's got to be like top 5 media personality.
Top 5. He's top
3.
Name me someone bigger than Mike
certainly,
Prater right
certainly
now.
municipal celebrity.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
municipal celebrity.
Like you got local, you got regional.
Yeah, you got municipal, right? I mean, you're like way up there.
A celebrity
you could probably,
in my own mind, maybe. But
you could probably get a restaurant, like a reservation at almost any restaurant in certain regions.
Well, in this city, yeah, because restaurants don't take reservations in this city. But I still want to open up the 50 and 3 restaurant with Kellen Moore, but I need Kellen Moore's help for that. The 50 and 3 restaurant. It's a $50 steak, but you get 3 sides.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So I need. Anybody got any money? I need some money because Kellen shot it down. He thinks that's a horrible idea.
Is it?
No, that would be awesome.
But
Boise State themed.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. I'm honored and looking forward to it. And
looking forward. I mean, you're like Hall of Fame media personality. I mean, you got to have something named after you at some point, right?
So,
I mean, you've dedicated.
We just saw
years.
Kellen Moore get put on the College Football Hall of Fame.
Throw
ballot,
Mike
right?
on there, dude.
What Hall of Fame is there? A local or like broadcasting Hall of Fame?
In my mind, there might be. No,
do we need to create one?
No. I mean, Johnny actually asks me that question all the time. Johnny's infatuated by Hall of Fame. So, no. I would like to be better than top 5 in terms of media guys. So
he's definitely better than
That's
top
something
5.
I need to strive for. But the Hall of Fame thing, no.
Mike and what? BJ Rex? That's probably it.
Well,
right,
right now it's
Tubbs?
Well, he's got seniority. He's got what?
Yeah.
So Mike Prater was we were saying this before we started. He was the editor of the sports section of the Idaho Statesman when we were growing up, and there were articles that our names were in. Mike was the editor.
I still walk into restaurants and there's like a story that I wrote 30 years ago. That's the worst thing I've ever wrote. That's the worst thing I ever.
You really did have like the superpower lineup going on for a while. Like Murphy and Kripe. Kripe was incredible. Like when I don't know if he took off at the first time we played Georgia. When he took over, but I mean, he was awesome.
Ask him about the first game he ever covered, and it sounds like this might be important in your guys' life, but the Fresno State game.
That was the first.
We've talked plenty about that.
We had a staffing issue, and we sent a young Chad Kripe to that game, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And then he got really, really good after that. So unbelievable. I got lucky. I mean, first of all, I came here in 1990 to cover the Vandals for 4 years, and nobody even remembers that because it was completely insignificant.
For the Statesman?
Yeah, for the Statesman. So from 1990 to 1994, I traveled to every Idaho home and away football game for 4 years, and half, if not all, the basketball games for 4 consecutive years. And then I came back from vacation in 1994, and my boss, I was doing the Vandals again, and my boss said, Phil just quit because we asked him to cover a Little League baseball game. Do you want the Boise State beat? I said, sure. And then I took him to the national championship game.
That's a
and then it's just, the 10-year period from 1994 to 2007. I mean, I don't need to sit here and waste anybody's time, but I got lucky. I was really, really lucky. Hard work on my part, good timing on my part, and then the greatest staff I've ever worked with in my life.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to recreate that.
Yeah, it's gone.
Well, BJ's trying, right? Bronco Nation News is,
That's true.
different format, right? Totally different format, but kind of an all-star cast. that you're part of.
Yeah, I love what BJ's done. Fantastic. I mean, kudos to that guy. It takes a special guy to pull off something like that. He's got to be circus promoter. He's got to be a hard worker. He's got to be a charmer. He's got to be smart. I love BJ, and in the beginning we couldn't stand each other. I mean,
really?
And he'll tell you the same thing. I tried to get him. No, I won't go there.
He wouldn't go to the Statesman?
He's trying to get him fired. He's trying to get him fired.
I wanted to go far, far away because he was good, and he brought in an intimidating threat, and it was all about respect. Which eventually, when we got to know each other, it became that. But kudos to Jay Tust at Channel 7, to BJ, what he's doing. Guys like you, what we're doing at KTIK, and after that,
Yep, is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining. You've been an awesome, I guess, sports personality in our lives.
We've listened to the number of hours. You and Caves, obviously, and then you and Johnny now. I've listened to
We've called in a number of times. You've called us knuckleheads.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here I'm going to interview you guys because that's what I do.
Okay,
so
here we go.
And I'm on because I've been going for 24 hours.
That's right.
I wrote a column last night and I was about ready to file it. And the headline was, "Why is Jeremiah Dickey so bad at scheduling football?" And so about 30
We've argued
minutes
that before.
So
as
30 minutes later, I had to rip that sucker up when we got a little media advisory. And then I wrote a completely different 1,200-word column, got up this morning to do what I had to do and went to work. So I'm on adrenaline. I'm all fired up right now. But my question to you guys then, if you've
I read the article, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you read
you
it?
already
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we
You've
read
done
it.
your homework. It's only been out a couple of hours. You guys are doing homework.
We wanted to talk about it.
All right, I'm going to give you a question, and then I need a number. The percentage between 0 and 100% of how many times I've pissed you off as opposed to how many times I've entertained you. What's your number, Mark?
Entertainment
Like
is
40%, 50%. Do I piss you
pissed
off?
off?
Yeah.
20. 25.
That seems low.
Yeah, no.
You were, let's see.
But when you piss me off, you really do. I mean, it's pissed off.
There were times where I was like, I can't stand that guy.
That's
I
fair.
just can't stand it. I'm trying to think when it was. It's probably a 35 to 40%.
All right, that's fair.
You'd have to do a lot to make me mad.
I'm
just calm. I'm pretty easygoing.
You love everybody.
I will say that I'll say this about doing this podcast. I would get frustrated sometimes. You or someone on the air, and they say something. I'm like, that's wrong. Like and then when you actually are like filming something and you're on air. That happens.
Yeah.
It happens,
Yeah.
right?
It
And
does.
so I have a better understanding and appreciation for it now, for sure.
I guarantee you, and I criticize people as much as possible because I'm kind of that guy. I make a mistake at least once every day, probably once on the show, probably once every hour, just by saying something stupid. I'm old, and it happens, and live it happens, and you do 15 to 18 hours of live radio, it happens.
Yeah.
So
I will say I was not super excited, and I don't know if anybody else shares these same feelings. When Caves left and Johnny came on, I didn't really know Johnny. And so he was a new voice, and I was like, I don't really like this guy. I didn't say this to him when he came on the show. But and then I was like, now Prater's his buddy, and Prater's starting to sound a little bit like Johnny. He's kind of rubbing off.
yeah.
Now I'm good. Now I enjoy the show.
Took time.
But there for a little bit, it was like, I don't know. I couldn't listen to it.
We heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of that, and I think we took some lumps. I love the show now, and it was my idea to go after Johnny. I was on vacation when all that happened. I actually went on vacation on a Friday, and then Jeff Caves on a Monday announced that he was quitting, and by Friday he was gone, and I've never seen him since.
No way.
Never.
And he hadn't given you any warning.
No warning. He did it on the air on that Monday while I was out of the state on vacation.
He announced it on the air. Nobody
On the
knew.
air. Well, he may have told his boss that morning, but I've never seen him since that Friday before, and we've never spoken since. So
Get out.
no.
So and
20
we don't need to go too far into that, but you could tell like your guys' relationship was one on the air, but off the air was
Non-existent.
Yeah.
We didn't talk during commercial breaks for 2 years.
just
The last 2 years.
Just
How do
worked
you do
together so close, so long, they just rubbed each other the wrong way. Two different people.
Two different people. Mad respect for what he did. And I wouldn't even be sitting here today.
I
if
liked
it-
listening to Caves. I got no.
And I got to
from
go
my
back
side
all the
of
way
it.
to Larry Pulowski, too, the godfather
Yeah.
of sports talk radio in this town.
Yeah.
And I always have to start it with him. So Pulowski and Cave started this thing, mad respect. Unbelievable what they did to build it. Completely different person. And I'm okay that he's not a part of my life now. I love Johnny Ballgame. And I went after him because he was the ESPN guy who really kind of made the first real run at our show and made some ratings dents, and I loved his energy. And then I got to drink a beer with him at a Stampede basketball game once, and I thought, I like this dude, and I need a guy like that in my life. He's young and crazy, and I'm not, and he's been spectacular. And I think we'll have our 4th anniversary this Labor Day weekend, and I hope the chemistry that we have is better now. I'm
It's
sorry.
good.
I apologize. I brought a vandal into the picture.
That's true.
But I think he's the right guy, and he works really hard, and he brings an element to the show that I could never bring, and I love it.
Yeah, he's done good.
That's
We like John.
fascinating,
He came here. He's a super fun guy to talk
Yeah,
to. But I appreciate that. Yeah, he's a vandal, but you wouldn't know it. I mean, yes,
He's a sports fan.
he's a
big
sports. I don't know. It's not like he has some anti-Boise State
No,
deal. That
no,
would piss
no.
people off.
No.
He doesn't have that.
Johnny loves everybody.
He's a good dude.
I got a 10-month-old puppy, and I always say that Johnny's like my 10th-old puppy. He just loves everybody and just doesn't, it's not that he doesn't care. He just wants to watch sports, play with his remote, and be a puppy. And,
Wait. Pebbles number 2?
I do have a Pebbles number 2. Thanks for bringing up
Yeah.
Pebbles. Yeah. You guys are hardcore.
Dude, I had a bad story with Pebbles.
Wait.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Well,
we talked about this on.
We talked about one of our first episodes. Not to cut you off, but I was okay. I'm just gonna throw it.
Yeah.
So
My dog has been dead for like
I know.
Let's bring this
Well, you know
up
how
again.
No, it's not too soon. We're good.
You guys had negative text messages for a while. You and Kate.
Negative instant message.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still do. We just took the word negative out. Now it's like feedback finale.
Yeah. Okay. So for forever, I wanted to text in as Pebbles and be like, Mike, get your ass home and give me my shots or whatever. And I kept forgetting.
Because she was diabetic, yeah.
And I kept forgetting, and it was like a long-standing joke that you guys had. And then one day I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm driving home, and I sent the text message, and then I turn it on, and a couple segments in, you're like, my dog died. And I was like, I sent that message in the day your dog died. And I was like,
Bad timing.
bad
time.
timing.
I'm walking out now.
Yeah, bad timing. My bad on Pebbles on that.
No, Pebbles is buried in the backyard,
Yeah.
and I got 2 really cool black pugs now, and one of them's just a 1-year-old knucklehead. So
Nice.
I do have to say, I thought your chemistry with Caves, you guys complemented each other so well.
Yeah, they
And
did.
It was so perfect. Caves was awesome. And he was fiery, and you had the other side of it, and you guys would go back and forth. And from an outsider perspective, I had no idea. No clue, which is interesting how you guys did it that well.
2 years. And
that must have been tough.
Our studio is half the size of what we're in right now. In 2 years, we never spoke during a commercial
wild.
break.
Professionals
it is
right
what it
there.
is.
True professionals.
Can I-
man.
I was
If
comfortable.
you-
I was comfortable with it. Caves was comfortable with it. You probably want to bring JP on here because he needed therapy. He needed therapy after that 2 years.
Come on, JP.
Well, we appreciate you having. We could talk these things all day, but there's some new.
I do want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Does this move by Jeremiah make up for all of the bad scheduling he's done?
You talking about the Notre Dame game?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
don't
if
mind
you
if we
haven't
jumped
heard,
in.
we're playing at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next year.
heard
I mean,
it.
I'm not saying if you haven't heard, but listeners, if they haven't heard.
And this guy right here to my right has been bashing Jeremiah Dickey for
and-
years on that. And
So let me, and then we'll
Go
get his
for it.
thoughts. My point has been that Jeremiah Dickey has done an amazing job fundraising, amazing job. I mean, ADs have 3 main jobs: hire good coaches, schedule, and raise money.
Oh, okay.
Raise money,
And,
basically.
and
right?
in that particular
And he's-
case, Jeremiah is 0 for 2 or 0 for 2.
Well,
he's
so the coaching situation, he hired Avalos, which really wasn't his hire. We'll see what happens with Danielson, okay? The scheduling up to this point, we'll talk about it in a second. He's done awesome engaging the community, selling tickets, raising money, right? But until this week, the App State, that's a nice pickup. Home and away, I like that one. Notre Dame, home run, you called it a grand slam. I want to talk about that a little bit. Before that, though, it was FCS games and canceling Power 5 games. That was his record.
Yep.
And so I think that the article you were about to write was appropriate. Right?
And I still published part of it, so
Sure.
it's the one that is out there now. So it's talking about Dickey. It's a little bit more updated with the Notre Dame stuff, but Jeremiah Dickey gets a free pass for Avalos, and I'm not sure
Agreed.
he should.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm not sure he should.
Really?
I mean, he was kind of forced to hire him, but was he? I mean, ultimately, couldn't he have made his own decision? It was an easy hire. He wasn't forced. It was an easy hire.
Yep.
The first hire he ever made, he had to fire in 16 months or whatever it was. Guys, that's not good. If you're an SEC athletic director looking at his, the buzz that he creates in this community, which is beyond spectacular. And I love what Jeremiah Dickey does. And I get caught up all the time of being accused of sucking up to him. But, he has to be held accountable for not hiring a good football coach and then firing him. The scheduling thing is an issue for me. I mean, Only Cincinnati is the only Power 4 school on Boise State's home schedule between now and the end of time.
And I don't think he even made that.
No.
And they weren't Power 5 at the time.
Exactly. And it's 2028, and I'll bet you both $5 that it won't ever happen.
Yeah.
Florida State, I'm not going to blame him for that. That was COVID, 100%. Michigan State, 1,000% Jeremiah Dickey mistake, and he tells you that he had to, quote, trade for resources, about $2 million or whatever the money was. Oregon, realignment, could he have fought, battled the contract maybe a little bit more, maybe. I'm not going to give him that much credit. I don't blame him for losing the Oregon game, so I don't blame him for losing those 3 big games. I blame him for not giving me any kind of excitement on the schedule.
That's what I've been saying.
I need a Power 4, and a lot of that was Avalos before.
Yeah.
Avalos was the one who said, I need to play the FCS, I need to play the balance.
Huh. I think didn't work for him.
No, it didn't.
UTEP.
I think Spencer's going to be a little bit more. I guarantee you, Jeremiah walks in and said, how about Notre Dame? Hell yes.
Yeah.
And anything he can load up, anything he can sign up. I think moving forward, the schedule might get a little bit more aggressive. We'll see. It needs to. North End Zone Project, season ticket sales, 20,000. He's got so many carrots he's chasing. He's got to give us a better schedule.
What's realistic on getting teams here? Just regional, like Washington, Oregon, maybe some
2-for-1s.
California, maybe a Texas. Like, what is
Texas ain't coming here.
No.
maybe a school from Texas?
okay,
There's
sorry.
like 15
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
but like,
sorry.
I just wonder.
He said he was going to focus on Texas, right? Like that's one of the
Dude,
things
we got
he's
Rice.
working on.
We got Rice coming up in 2031.
2032. One game in Texas in the next 12 years.
Yeah, come on now.
One game in
so he's got
Texas.
some work to do there. We all agree he's done an amazing job over here, but there is some.
There's no reason why he can't get it put together a 2-for-1 for Baylor, or even a 1-for-1 for Baylor. Go after the Big 12, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, 2-for-1s, 1-for-1s. The luxury of having the Pac-12 and BYU in your back pocket, those are easy phone calls. The 4 of us could have called and scheduled some of those games. Those are gone, and you can't rely on that anymore. So you have to be more creative. He's the king of creative. He talks about it all the time. He comes through all the time. I need to see it coming through all the time. So I think Big 12, maybe some other stuff going on out there, and stops doing the regional stuff. I don't need to go to App State and Marshall on back-to-back weekends. Actually, there was a home game in between in a couple of years. That's crazy.
I didn't see that.
It's
Marshall and App State in the same year?
In the same 14 days, dude.
I didn't see
And he
that.
talks about going on Twitter. He talks about being a regional.
Yeah, that's not.
So,
not regional.
but he's smart enough to know it, and I think over the next year we're going to get better answers. But I think you and me are in this situation.
Yeah.
I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah.
Or I'll believe it when
I
see
just
it.
I kind of got fatigued when we were winning so many games for forever, and then Harsin comes in and we're winning at a high clip, but then teams just fell off from coming here.
Yeah.
Like an interest level, especially because you're riding this high and you're trying to chase that high, and we're not getting there. And then I said, without a big name, I'm just like not that interested anymore.
Yep. Oh, that's part. Look at season ticket sales. I had a line in my column today. 11 consecutive years of either declined or stagnant Boise State season ticket sales. Unbelievable.
So what was it? I mean, they're saying this year they're pushing for 20,000, right? And he's getting creative. He's been creative on the way that they count those things, I think. But they have sold more already than last year. So it looks like this year's going to be a nice bump, right? So what is it? Danielson? Is it Malachi Nelson? Is it Ashton Genty?
Yes,
it's just all of it, right? It's Dirk Cutter. It's been a nice offseason for Boise State football, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, you beat New Mexico by 14 on a Saturday night, and then you'll fire your coach the next morning, the reigning coach of the year, and then all of a sudden,
Is that what he was?
Yeah, reigning coach of the year.
Forgot about
24 hours, less than 24 hours after beating a conference opponent by 2 touchdowns, and he gets fired the next morning. But that's a whole
I
nother.
think it was more than 2 touchdowns, too. I think
it was
four.
42 to 28. I think, but we'll check it
anyway,
out.
it was big. It was
I'm
plenty.
old.
It was
but
big.
where were we going?
Just the offseason, since
yeah.
hiring Danielson.
Yeah, and then Utah State and Spencer and the hire and Malachi and Genty staying and I mean the list is crazy. It's been one of the craziest off seasons. It's been a spectacular offseason that he's been able to sell, and I think he's going to continue to sell, and he'll easily get to his 20,000.
Yep.
They haven't passed 17.7 in a long, long time.
Yeah.
I think it's
It
interesting.
was
with
42-14, by the way.
Oh, it was 42-14.
it
there
was
we
like
go.
30. Yeah.
Oh, so it was 28 points. So I had it
about right.
backwards. Okay, 40. It's okay.
I think the town, like the population base in the Treasure Valley, which is what 700,000 or
About that now. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somewhere.
not being able to get 5% of that
I
or
don't get
10%
that.
of
I've
that.
still never gotten that.
And you know, the thing is, like we were talking before, we grew up in the Kellamore era. We went to college there, and now we have kids that are growing up. If we can start winning, those kids are becoming big fans, and that's kind of how the I don't know, the fan base grows and grows. And if we can hit the playoffs this year, I mean, I think the season tickets are going to be 25,000 next year, right? I mean, there's like almost no
20, 25.
I mean, if we go to the playoffs this year,
the thing is that
we're
there's
going over
a couple
20.
100,000 people, a few 100,000 people that were not here when Kellamore was, and we all four of us remember how crazy it was. Blue and orange everywhere, car flags everywhere, and there's several 100,000 people that are just waiting to get excited. I mean, they're not really know it yet, but if we go on this, hey, we're 6-0, we beat Oregon, we're 6-0, we're 7, or maybe we're 7-1, we're ranked, we're the highest G5. We get into a playoff, I think that this place could just catch fire. Yeah. I really do. I think it's just dormant.
Well, no, I don't know if it's dormant. I think it's better than that. I mean, we're seeing it. I mean, with the crowds last year,
it's getting better.
That's true.
Last year was better.
Some of those crowds last year were crappy crowds 5 years ago. So it's getting better. Jeremiah is going to keep going. This probably all comes down to the president and getting him a contract before December 31st.
What do you think about Dickey's statement where he said that scheduling is his least favorite part of the job?
I saw that.
Should he get somebody who likes that? You know, because it's a battle. And, you know, scheduling and talking with these other schools, I think it's like a puzzle. You're putting pieces together, right? And if he doesn't like it, then he's not going to be
it's an important
great
part.
It seems like.
It is an important part.
You can ask him about that tomorrow.
I just thought of that.
I think it's a good idea.
I need to write that down so I don't forget. But I am going to ask that question tomorrow. I hadn't thought of that, but I was going to ask him, why don't you like it and how do you fix that? But the fact that he probably needs a lieutenant to go off and do it. I mean, Leon Rice has Mike Burns scheduled his basketball games. So Mike Burns is in charge of the defense and he's in charge of the schedule. And so Leon doesn't really, other than saying yes, or whatever, doesn't have to worry about that. Jeremiah needs a scheduling lieutenant. Can we give him that title too?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll do it.
I'm curious.
I'll give him the title. I won't do the schedule.
And
It is hard, but it needs to be better.
Can I get your thoughts? And this may be controversial.
Bring it on.
We can't have conflict.
Like,
We've gone there a few times.
What are you like as far as like how would you rate Apsey's time as the AD?
Country club comfortable, but he raised a lot of money.
Did he?
He raised all the money for the Stickle.
No, that was before that was when he was the associate AD.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So as the
AD, you're talking about strictly as the AD. Country club comfortable.
Yeah.
See, I think he did a ton of damage to BSU. I think that was the time we had to cash in all of our success and try to get somewhere. And like, I really look at that time as, you know, Harsin was trying to fight. Everybody was trying to go. And Apsey's like, nah, you know, it'll figure it out.
We were stagnant when the Big 12, if Jeremiah was hired, we said this 5 years ago, I think we potentially are in the Big 12 right now.
I don't know if I believe that. But I'll probably
would have been closer.
It would have, it would have been closer. And I'll buy what you're saying on Kurt. But I've never criticized Kurt, and I never will criticize Kurt. He came into our show, Ask the AD. Remember, if you guys remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He gave us so much time and so much access, and he's a great man, and he's a great family man, and his priorities are all in the right spot.
Come on, Mark. Give the guy a break.
Well, he was here for 4 or 5 years. What did he do? He didn't build anything.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
He didn't take advantage of the success. But I think that also goes back to Mark Coyle a little bit, who got couple of little things done, but just showing up for a couple of years and then bailing and then leaving it to Apsey. Apsey was an easy hire for Bob Custra, who wanted somebody to control.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's 100% of a fact. And so it's not about who you hired. It's about putting him in the right spot. And he was in the right spot when he was raising $30 million for the Stickle.
Yeah.
He did a phenomenal job. Now you put him in charge, and I think he just wanted to make sure that he pleased his boss, Bob Custra, because if you don't please Bob Custra, your life is going to be short. And then he wanted to go to the club with the boys at night and hang out at the country club and make sure that he was popular. And I'll just leave it at that.
I thought when he was the associate AD, Kellen Moore and Chris Peterson did the money raising. They did the fundraising, you know, and he just was there to collect the checks. And I've always been frustrated with how bad the program was sliding and how, you know, and you could see that Leon was even getting really frustrated, you know, and I think when he went
on his rant about 79 missing light bulbs,
80 light bulbs or whatever. Anyway, I was curious about that because when you contrast Dickey versus Apsey, I mean, I just think there's new life, there's new blood, and just like that's been a huge improvement.
100%. 100%. I mean, Jeremiah Dickey, if you guys lose him, you're in trouble. But he'll
leave. He'll leave. Mike, my hope is that we get a shovel in the ground for north end zone before he leaves. That's my hope.
My hope, if I was you guys, would be to just maybe a 2 or 3 year contract extension.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he needs a couple more years.
How concerned should we be that hasn't happened yet?
I don't know. I mean, we've been trying to get answers out of the president's office, and they don't seem to think it's an important situation right now. But and I'm not ready to push the panic button yet. He's through contract through the 2025, December 31st, 2025. But I don't want him to wake up on January 1st, 2025 as a lame duck athletic director. Mm-hmm. He needs to have a contract by the 31st of December of this year, or I'm pushing the panic button.
Makes sense.
That's interesting.
So we read I want to go one more thing with the Notre Dame thing, because that's the huge news that people are talking about right now, right?
Greatest non-conference game is in Boise State.
That's what I want to talk about. You quoted that, right?
Yes, sir.
Or that was your kind of your statement there, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I'm not necessarily, I'm not poo-pooing it at all. Huge. I mean, if you talk about the traditional power of all time, it's Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And one off, if you said, I think you could argue that. My one caveat to that is that there were some other games scheduled previously that, in my opinion, were bigger as from a national standpoint. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. Okay. I'm going to give you a couple names here. I want you to
write that down on a business card.
Prep.
What is this, a napkin?
Is that a business card?
And that's a business card of some chiropractor.
In your pocket.
Okay. You guys, I want you guys to tell me,
grab a dollar bill and
what do these 5 schools have in common? Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Northern Illinois.
Okay.
Central Michigan.
Mac, baby.
Marshall. Toledo.
Mac.
New Mexico.
Oh, I don't know.
Prater knows.
UNLV, Nevada. They've all been on the non-conference schedule every year.
For
Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. So those are
they play 2 of those. They play 2 of those games every year.
Those are Notre Dame's home G5 games, and they play Navy every year, basically, right?
Yeah.
Guess who it is next year?
Us.
Okay, so they're looking at this game as Northern Illinois, Central Michigan, Marshall, Toledo, New Mexico, Boise State. That's how they're looking at that game.
So what do you want them to do?
Right?
So
lately,
that's fine. But he said it's the big. So what I'm saying from a national perspective, okay? Boise State announced kickoff classic against Virginia Tech. National game, opening weekend. Announced Boise State, Georgia, Chick-fil-A kickoff classic. Ole Miss. 3 of those, right?
Yeah.
Those were bigger announced games from a national perspective.
And television, make sure you understand the context that television put those games together.
Sure. But those were, it wasn't the AD or whatever. I'm just saying that those were statements for me that television put those games together because Boise State had arrived and was there. Mm-hmm. And this for us is a huge game. We're going to try and get there. And it's a huge game at South Bend. And it's awesome. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. But what I'm getting at is that for those teams, it was like, hey, because 8 years ago, there wasn't all these neutral site games. These was like one-offs. Yeah. Like, the neutral site game, and Boise State's in it. That was a big deal, if you remember.
It's watered down.
It's watered down now. The other big one was Florida State wins the national championship. The next year, they schedule a home with Boise State. Mm-hmm. They never ended up coming here because of COVID. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not criticizing, but is it the biggest I think that those were actually bigger from a national standpoint because, in my opinion, the national media and Notre Dame look at us as those other 5 schools.
I'm going to throw this at you, Mark.
Go ahead.
Is it not as big?
We're their gimme at home next year.
Is it not as big because you don't think it's a winnable game?
No, I actually think this is a more winnable game than Oregon this year for sure. I think we have a better chance to beat Notre Dame next year than Oregon this year for sure.
I would agree with that.
So no, I think we could win this game. I'm not.
Marshall did a couple years ago. So,
Marshall did a couple years ago. So I don't know. Hey, Boise State, but the reality is Utah State went and played at LSU 2 years ago. They went and played at Alabama 3 years ago. Mountain West schools take body bag one-off games at away stadiums. It's a big game. Don't get me wrong, but it's not no one nationally cares about it right now. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a big deal here.
You can't put us up against that because we're not nationally relevant.
I know. That's why I'm saying it's not the biggest game ever announced. That's what I'm saying.
Announced.
That's my whole point.
That's not a bad case. That's not a bad case. But again, it's different. I don't know if it's better or worse. It's just different. Again, TV put all that stuff together.
Sure.
It was a different era, a different time. And Jeremiah Dickey is trying to climb take this program out of I don't want to say a hole because it's not that bad. It's perfectly fine. But just take it to another level. And to your point, they need more of these games. I need one of these kinds of announcements from Jeremiah Dickey every year.
Yep.
Just one. One every single year. And whether it's a Texas game where there's a lot of Boise State connections, an LSU night game or a one-off in LSU. Are you kidding me? That would be spectacular. The horseshoe, Michigan. I mean, anything. Give me one of those games a year and win one every 3 or 4 years and you're good. And I hope that today started a trend.
Yep.
I wonder if like the big separation happens, then all those teams will start coming down to like the non-power conference.
I don't know.
There are people that think the other way around.
Did they quit playing us?
Yeah, they're going to quit playing. The gap will be so huge that they're going to just quit. But I don't think that
you were diving into this a little bit more on your show the last week or two, right? The kind of the Power Four and the paying players and stuff. I mean, you've been around here. We grew up here. You've been covering Boise State for a long time. Where do you see Boise State in the ecosystem of college football right now, and where do you see us 5 years from now? Are we still playing for a college football playoff, or are we playing for what is essentially the FCS right now?
And we need to share, since we've last talked, they did come out with the news about profit sharing for schools in the Power Four.
They're going to get paid.
They're going to get paid profit share revenue from the schools
directly.
Anyway,
$20 to $22 million a year as a starting point.
as a starting point,
I hate
that's
to
so much money.
I hate
You
to
can
say,
say
guys,
what you think.
No, I just hate to say it, but the gap is growing, and the gap isn't going to shrink, and there will be the great divide. It's going to happen, guys. Whether it's 3 years, 5 years from now, and what it looks like, I'm not sure. I mean, that's why I was so opposed to the new Group of Five top 25 poll. Those things are meaningless, but that's kind of an important wedge that people can stick in there. I don't like that. I want Boise State to fight for their little slice of the pie with the big guys, but I don't think it's a fight that they can win, certainly not on their own. Mike Oresco with the American Athletic Conference, as much of a blowhard as he was, he stood up for the Boise States and his schools.
And Craig Thompson didn't.
No,
he never did.
He did it differently. He just did it differently.
Okay. That's what they say in divorce courts.
Yeah.
That's like ridiculous.
And I know what it's like in divorce courts.
Yeah, you know it.
Actually, that's not true. I did them all myself and never had to go to court.
You did it differently.
Yeah, I did it differently. I did it differently.
Craig Thompson drove me nuts that way. He never did anything. And
I felt that way for the first half of his tenure, and toward the back half of his tenure, I felt completely different. So we'll save that one for another time. But it's the great divide's happening, guys, and Boise State can't stop it.
So a scene from a movie comes to mind: Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade.
The ball coming down the tube.
Well, no, he's reaching for the Holy Grail. There's like a split. And Indiana Jones, it's Harrison Ford. Yeah. And Sean Connery puts his hand on his shoulder and he's like, give it up, basically. Like it's too far of a reach across this chasm.
You know what you got to reach for?
It's a good analogy, but
do we have a chance right now? Is that chasm close enough that we can get on the other side of it?
No.
I
don't think so.
Yes. Can I paint, better analogy?
Oh, better?
I like
not a better. Different.
It better be Back to the Future.
Infinity War. Infinity.
You
haven't even seen it because
just say it.
Do you watch Marvel movies?
No.
I don't watch
this.
Bad. Doctor Strange.
Movie. Come on.
You know how
movies at all,
okay. So the whole premise is Doctor Strange takes a time stone and he looks at like 14 million opportunities, and there's only one that turned out right, and here it is for BSU. Okay. We go to the playoff this season.
Okay.
And then we potentially go to the playoff next season. And we're relevant, and then we grab onto the the dress coattails of whoever we can, and we get included, or relegation. That's my only other thing. If you could get relegation.
Here's my hope. And this is potentially possible, okay?
Could have. It's going to take 10 it's a possibility.
Here's my hope. Is that at some point, the top schools, not just the Big Ten and the SEC, but the top schools of those leagues are going to say, yes, we're subsidizing FBS football right now. And they are, and they're dividing away. But at some point, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, whatever, we're going to say, we're subsidizing Indiana too, and Vanderbilt, and Iowa State, and whatever. And my kind of hope, because I agree with you. The way it's going, we're going to be on the wrong side of history here.
Yep.
My hope is that those top Alabama, the top 20 to 30, actually do go fully pay their players, totally leave, do their own thing, and then we are somehow in that next group that includes your BYUs, probably your Utahs,
Houston.
your Houstons, basically the Big Ten ACC schools that get left behind, and the ones from those other schools. My thing is I can see that happening because eventually, okay, the Big Ten, the SEC break away, but there's still always this, we're feeding the mouths of the bottom half of our leagues.
Yeah, but they have to have them.
They don't have to have them.
Yes,
they
you do.
don't. The NFL doesn't have the bottom half.
Yeah, but they have more parity than anybody else.
The college
but there's
football-
only 32 teams in the NFL. They have 64 whatever in those top
69 or whatever
They got a
numbers,
lot, and they're not all pulling their weight.
There's a lot of contracts involved. Grant-in rights is a phrase you guys have been hearing a lot in the last couple of years. So, and just keep an eye. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong, although I think you're wrong.
What do you think?
do it.
Yeah.
What do you think will
Keep
happen?
an eye on the ACC. What's going on in the ACC? That's going to be the canary in the coal mine, if you ask me. The ACC fight and how that's all going to shake out in Clemson and Florida State.
They're going to bail. They're going to leave. We know.
I think so.
They're going to leave.
But it's based on all these grant and right contracts
Yeah.
and all this stuff that's legal that I don't even want to know. So if they can bust through that barrier, maybe. You might be right. I have a feeling that they won't, and they're going to stay in the ACC, and we'll see how it shakes out. But we'll see. But no, I think I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
you don't-
The good news is that the Idaho Vandals will be a third tier.
Yeah.
That's good, right?
Yeah, that's
They
true.
already are third tier, basically.
Well,
There's some silver lining in all this.
I just appreciate, at least right now, what we can. Sounds like the college football playoff is they've signed contracts for like through the rest of this decade, basically, right? They had 2 years and then they signed another 6. So now is the time, in my opinion, that Boise State, if we can get into a couple, ACC maybe falls apart, maybe the big boys leave, but there's going to be a second level that I think the BYUs of the world are going to, Baylor's, Iowa State's. We need to do everything we can to be in that level. Because
So-
I don't think they're going to be in the top level either. In 10 years or 15 years, Iowa State's not in the same level as Alabama. I think.
I think it's
And
hopeful.
so-
It's wishful thinking,
yeah,
but
and so
maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. No one knows.
Well, they're
But,
not-
So
they're
far,
not-
he's disagreed with you and said it was wishful thinking, Mark.
that's fine. I don't care. I mean, no one knows for sure.
No.
But those
I
schools
do
aren't
think-
restricted by scholarship anymore, right? Like, but the past it was like you could only have so many guys, but now you can pay them anyway.
You can pay.
You can pay them if they're not on scholarship. You just pay their scholarship.
Well, they're going to
NIL
have
stuff.
roster caps too. Though.
Yeah, they're going to
Oh,
roster
will
cap
they?
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
What happens
there will
when-
be some kind of a limitation, but
Yeah.
but
But
it's not like Alabama can all of a sudden have 173
No.
scholarship football players. They're going to cap it at 85 and basically eliminate walk-ons. That might be the problem.
The
Yeah.
biggest issue with this, like paying the players directly from the schools, in my
They
opinion,
can sue you.
is that I don't know about that because they're not employees.
They're not going to be employees.
No,
The-
they're
the guy in
walking this
Florida,
fine
right?
line.
The guy in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah,
that's
that's
a
a good
good point.
But no, here's the biggest issue for us, for Boise State, is that if you look at Boise State's roster and you say, hey, these guys had offers from where, the vast majority nowadays have offers from like the Pac-12, the Oregon States of the world, the Washington States. And I kind of think, yes, there's always going to be the guy that's like, you know what, I can play at Boise State, I can start. We're still going to get some good players.
Absolutely.
But there's also going to be the guys that's like, man, I can get paid $100,000 directly from the school just to show up at Baylor, and Boise State can't. And 4 years of that coming from a family that needs the money, it's going to be harder to get the quality, the 20 guys that have Power 5 offers to come to Boise State. I think we'll get 5 or 6.
Can I
think
represent
we're
the
gonna
other
lose
side of
some.
that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Is it that bad of a deal if we don't make it into those tiers? Like, is it that bad if we could just
Is
focus
it
on
all or
football
nothing?
again? Well, it's like
You mean like G5 where
it's like, look, I was watching the Montana playoff game last year, and I have a buddy that is a big fan of Montana, and he loves it. And their whole family goes. And it's so sad when I take my son to a basketball game or a football game, and they have the jersey of the player, and he's like, I can't wait to see Abo, or I can't wait to see this guy or that guy. And I'm like, oh, he's not on the team anymore. Oh, why not? We couldn't afford him. You know, is it that bad to just enjoy football again? And not just always be worried about how much can we afford this guy, how much, and the coach is running around doing fundraising. He's not even coaching anymore. It's like, is it that bad just to enjoy? Because you've said this, it's an event town.
Changing. I think it's becoming more of a sports town. We're planning that show this summer. So
nice.
But yes, you're right. You're right. It is.
And it's like, can we just enjoy football again? I mean, even if it's not like every player is like $1 million player, and that could be a bubble anyway. But like, what if we're just enjoying football and it's like we don't have to stress about giving everybody a house?
See, that's something that's become very near and dear to my heart. And one of the biggest arguments I have with people right now are people that say, I'm done with college football. They're paying players this or that. I'm television. I have to spend $6 to watch Peacock. You know what? I'm tired of those fans. What I've been telling people, and I have to do this myself, and I'm pretty good at it. You have to police yourself as a fan. And I'll even bring up my beloved University of Utah. I don't follow recruiting. I don't follow camp. I don't follow the transfer portal. I don't follow the depth chart.
Would you?
If I was a regular guy, but I got 50 hours I have to spend focusing on Boise State for my job. So I only have limited times. Plus, I like to goof off when I'm not working. Yeah. So I wake up on Saturday mornings. I've watched every play of every Utah football game for 30 years. I've never, whether it's on tape a week later or live. And I'm going to wake up on Saturday mornings and watch my Utes play football for 3 hours, and it's going to be the greatest 3 hours of my week. And then I'm going to go about my business, and I'm not going to worry about any of the other crap. As a fan, it's changing. We can't do anything about it, and you have to police yourself as a fan and become a better fan and just focus. Was it Nick Saban? Don't focus on the rat poison or the noise. I need 3 hours of a game time on Saturday, and I'm good.
Is he billing us for this therapy time?
He's already gone through therapy, dude.
Plenty of times. Sometimes court ordered. So
that's a good point. It's
police yourself as a fan.
I like that.
But how do you
Brandon?
How do you give to the program? Like, how do you invest in the program and cut it off at the return? Like you're trying to invest your time, potentially your money, your kids' effort, like.
But you're doing that so you can go to a game on Saturday for 3 hours. So invest in your time.
It's probably
go to the
3.5,
game
4
on
hours.
Tailgating. Yeah. Go to the game every 6 Saturdays and 1 road trip a year, and it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, the toughest thing, and I don't disagree with that. And I think we just have to re-educate ourselves and be. And there was a point in time there, the last several years, where as a Boise State fan, I was like, man, we just have to be happy to try and win the Mountain West. We're not in position to win these festivals, and it was kind of a re-education process there. But like to your point, Montana loves their football. They sell out, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, what if all of a sudden Montana goes from being an FCS power to say, well, we're not doing FCS anymore, and you're going to be D3 now, and you're going to play Whitewater, whatever. There would be this like deflating feeling. And it's the same thing as a Boise State fan. We've been ranked number 2 in the country. We've played in Fiesta Bowls. We've been nationally relevant. And to just be like kicked to the curb and be like, well, now you're playing in the second. It's G5's always been second tier, but now you don't have a chance. Now you just got to hope to win your region and whatever. I agree with Prater. I agree with you. You just got to re-educate yourself and be happy and cheer no matter what. But it is it's like you've had the best cheesecake ever. You've been to Ruth's Chris and had that steak. You got to be happy with the Sizzler now. That's what you get.
Sizzler, come on, it's not there.
I'm not willing to compromise that much.
Once you've had the Ruth's Chris, if you've never had Ruth's Chris, it's easier to be happy with Sizzler.
Yep.
Once you've had the Ruth's Chris, man.
Don't go with JB's.
JB's?
I won a stupid JB's thing from this radio station. I went.
Did you really?
I won like a prime rib from you guys, and I went, and it was like,
Hopefully
my wife's like, why are we here? I know you prime rib. Anyways, good time.
Caves and Prater.
That was a Caves and Prater thing.
Yeah, anyways.
I just, I do envy a little bit of what Montana has, and you know, the players may not change just because you go down a division. If the players stay the same and they go through the playoffs, they may stay the same. I mean, if you're just reclassifying stuff, but if you're going to the playoffs and you're playing late in the year and it's, cold or whatever, and there's energy and there's excitement, the players are still cool guys and they're great to be. I don't know.
I like that.
You guys are both right, but
disagreeing.
there's a phrase, sense of worth, and that's a tough phrase for people, and we all want to have a sense of worth. And if Boise State fan isn't getting the attention that it needs or wants, it's a sense of worth. They're not paying attention to me, and that's very, very important. And everybody strives for that. Montana wants that. The carrot at the end of the game, at the end of the season, the championship. They want that sense of worth. They want to feel like people love them, and I think the great divide, even if Boise State was playing for a Group of 5 national championship in Frisco, Texas on January 3rd or whatever the heck it was, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It's not the same as
because of the sense of worth is taking a PR hit.
I agree with you. But hey, at least for the time being, we got a shot. But let's enjoy it and see where it takes us.
To add spice to that Frisco game, relegation, baby. If we were playing to get in, and then the TV coverage on the bottom tier teams on the the Group of 4 or the Power 4, Like playing it out to stay up there and then us playing to get in. I mean, that's like drama TV. You got to love that as an
Boise
editor.
State had that play out a year ago. Remember when they released that play?
Yes, I remember that.
I would love it.
It would be great if there was like one central person in charge of college football that wasn't beholden by the conferences. Maybe that would work. But the conferences run it. And the conferences are never going to give up the power. The big ones.
I think the power players could. Hey, can I pitch you on something else?
Sure. What did he say? Can I do what?
Pitch you on something else.
Are these the notes that you were supposed to send me?
No. This is something else. Something else.
And this isn't the other 5-question thing either.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, there's music coming with that.
Oh.
Let me know when you want to get there.
All right.
So here's my thing. I don't think university presidents are equipped to handle college football sports anymore.
Boise State's isn't.
I don't think a lot of them are.
Others might be.
Well, okay, so, I mean.
Custer was.
I wonder if he was to this level. I wonder if it, maybe.
Wait, he went to Congress to testify, dude. I mean, you remember the whole.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I thought.
I just think Custer hates Idaho so much. I'm just like.
He hates
I don't
Idaho
care
now,
much.
man.
But anyway.
Maybe
He writes
now,
his
but-
columns.
Okay,
But when he was at Boise State, man, he was invested.
My point being is
Yeah.
education leaders should focus on education. And I almost think that schools should lease the field and have somebody buy the football program and then run it as a private organization, lease the brand, lease the field, pay them. You guys work on education. You, like Trump, she should have already had a contract for Dickey. But she's probably, maybe, focusing on something else. And you're like, she's not equipped to do that.
Separation of church and sport.
Kind of. In a way, it's like, okay, well, you hire a president who really needs to be academically focused, but the driver of all of your attendance and a lot of your money is coming from athletics.
Yep.
So, it's kind of like
director.
Right, but then you got to hire the athletic director, and then you got to manage because she's the boss of Jeremiah Dickey, and so she's got to manage. So he has to play both sides on that. Whereas if you just had a GM and a president that was just focused on that, I just wonder if college sports is going there anyway. You're paying players.
Well, they're talking
you
about
have
private
contracts
equity.
and you have NIL and you have private equity already. I don't know that. I mean, she's probably thinking of academics and grants.
rightfully so.
And
She should. And so,
be.
like,
I love your
right.
idea, and there should be more of a separation. I mean, I'm not sure about the private equity thing. As an old newspaper guy who saw my world
Nah.
get blown up by private equity,
Got to get return, ROI, baby. Cut staff.
That scares me. I'm getting shakes right now. But you've got to be careful there. And Jeremiah Dickey addressed that on social media the other day. I mean, they're talking about the private equity thing. They're just being very, very careful. The due diligence here important. Let me take you back even one step further. If you think Marlene Trump shouldn't be in charge of football, which you're 100% right, we even need to go one step further. In this state, you got the same state board in charge of kindergarten
Get it started,
and
man.
Boise State football. I'm figuring out snot rags for 3-year-olds, and then I'm coming over here and cutting education for 21-year-olds. It starts with the state board and the division there. I don't need kindergarten decisions made by my football decision guys. So it's just a crazy mess, and I know it's not just Idaho thing, but here we all live in Idaho.
Idaho is a mess, though.
It's a mess.
Boise
and it drives me
State's
crazy.
funding compared to the rest of Mountain West from like the state support is the bottom of the Mountain West, right?
Yes. And that's
I've seen that multiple times.
And it should be that way based on our state. It'd be nicer if it was different, but it's not.
Yeah.
Jeremiah knows that, and he's got to go off and find his money. But it's a complete mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
I don't know.
Third graders.
But the school board, they love being worshipped at Boise State. Like when I was at school, they would have a dean follow around a school board member, and he'd come in and talk to the school, and you're like, why are you there?
Exactly.
You were like part-time worker for a long time, and then you got elected, and now you're controlling Chris Peterson's contract, or you're doing any of that.
And he's a farmer in,
and you're
Kuski
like,
or
what
something.
do you know about that? And the dean was just like, oh, you're the smartest guy in the world. And I don't know about that.
No.
Anyway, I guess
thank you.
I just look at it from a business side, and the amount of business that's involved in college football is too much for colleges to handle.
100% agree.
I just don't.
And I'm
think they can do
assuming
that.
the Alabamas of the world have business development, sports departments, but maybe not. I don't know. At Boise State, half of a dude, half of a shift a day. I'm not sure, but you're right. You're not wrong at all. Not wrong at all. Corporate sponsors coming to the Patches.
I heard that.
That's
this
right.
year, yeah.
You know what? Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Who's going to be the corporate? Do they know?
I don't know if Boise State's done anything yet.
I
but
think they're
sounds-
looking at it.
yeah.
I don't know if they've made the decision or
United
not.
Commercial? Is that what
UCI,
we're
baby.
gonna do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
UCI.
Can you
We're going to have a discount. I had BJ give me a discount on the golf thing.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
New uniforms coming this summer too, probably, huh?
That's what I said. What are you? We had a question here of the notes that didn't get sent to you beforehand.
Pretend they did.
We kind of mentioned a big time off season. We're fans, and we do this on the side, right? You're a professional, and you do this for a living. As from your perspective, what are you most excited about for this upcoming season for Boise State football?
Ashton Jennings.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other right answer, right? I mean, he's a 1 in a million player. I mean, Jay Ajayi was fun, and I missed that. Brock Forsey, I'll go back to Brock Forsey, probably my favorite Boise State football player of all time, just because of what he represented and where he came from. If you can give me the big, sexy running back, I want that. Doug Martin was awesome, and it's kind of funny that, even back at Boise State, don't forget Doug Martin, they experimented with him on defense for a while.
I remember that.
It wasn't like the Ashton Jennings thing seems a little bit different. I mean, Jay's senior year, I think we kind of all felt something. The other guys, McNichols and some of those other guys, it kind of just happened. There's high expectations for Ashton Jennings, and I like high expectations, and I think he's going to be able to get to them. I mean, there's only been, four Boise State football players who ever had 2,000 all-purpose yards in one season. Ajayi, Forsey, McNichols, and Cedric Minner, maybe something like that. I want 2,000 all-purpose yards because he's a great ball catcher as well. I need 1,500 yards on the ground. I need 500 yards in passing, and I need 20 touchdowns. And I need an invitation to New York later in the season. And I think he can get them all.
Top four? No way. He's going to be a top 4 Heisman candidate. Is that what you're saying?
It'd be nice.
He's just asking for it, Mark.
He says need. He needs it.
I need it.
I need. I want
It's good for my business and good for my sense of worth. I mean, Kellen
Value.
made it.
Kellen made it.
And Kellen made it. And
Just replicate what Kellen did.
We got to beat Oregon.
Genty, come on.
We have to for that to happen. Realistically, we have to beat Oregon.
Or
I
be
think.
competitive and run the table.
Yeah.
You can be competitive and run the table, but the answer to me is Ashton Jennings.
Okay.
I am so excited to watch that guy run this year.
I honestly thought the tide of this season turned when Genty said he was going to stay.
Absolutely.
Then you started adding a bunch of pieces onto that, and that included Danielson and included obviously Malachi and the receivers
Marshall
and tight ends that are coming on.
The
Everybody.
new cornerback from Washington.
We were going to talk about him.
But see, I don't want to say I'm down on Malachi Nelson. That's kind of stupid.
I actually want to talk about this.
We did
really
want
bad.
to talk about
Okay,
this.
so I'll say
Go
my
ahead.
Malachi. Well, I'm just saying that, I'm not a big hype guy. I need to see it. I'm the prove it kind of guy, and the expectations are so off the charts that this guy hasn't played football in 2 or 3 years. Dirk Cutter's expectations are beyond ridiculous.
What are his expectations?
Perfection. Are you talking Dirk Cutter's expectations?
For Malachi?
Perfection. Know every single comma of the playbook, and don't screw it up. And go out there and take care of the football.
Do you think Dirk Cutter sees him as just this young guy that doesn't know anything or is just barely learning?
I think he felt that the first 2 weeks of spring camp. As a matter of fact, I know he did. And he was a mess out there. We were at practice every single day. And Malachi was a mess. And he wasn't talking. He had horrible body language. And his head was swimming. Now he's here all summer. I've heard great things. He's working through the playbook. Although he lists by himself in Meridian, which is kind of
what we wanted to talk about.
How did that come up?
I read.
No,
it
in our
was on
text,
whose show was that on?
You text that to us.
Yeah, well, so there
I
was
think
an
it was on our
interview.
show. No, it was with Maddox Madsen
and so
from our BNN Golf
wanted-
show
Yeah,
on.
that's right.
So I wanted. Okay, we're not here to.
He's an introvert.
Okay, so he's introvert, and that's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, we're all super stoked.
Kellen
When he
Moore was an
signed,
introvert.
We were super stoked. I'm not anti. I mean, whoever wins. First of all, Dirk Cutter's going to play the best guy. He doesn't care what star. We all agree with that. He's going to play the best guy who he thinks is going to win.
No politics.
I find it interesting and somewhat. We'll put it at interesting that he lives by himself in Meridian.
It's a long commute.
That Mad Dog, his competitor, is out everywhere. We see Mad Dog everywhere at the golf tournament,
So
at the interviews,
one thing
at
about
whatever.
the golf tournament, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm just saying that. So Matt, we're seeing two different things here, and I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. But I did play. I played college basketball, smaller college, and everything.
Mark, you bring this up every episode.
Every episode, right?
Yeah, what were your
right.
stats?
Twice
What were your
now.
stats?
There is a bit. We all play. I had good stats in college, actually. But
Prove it.
there's something to be said about being one of the guys, hanging out with the guys, being around the guys, going out with the guys. And if you're not in that you got to bring it and be extra, extra, extra good when camp shows up, right? It's just, I don't know, it's just interesting to me.
That point, I played both sessions of the golf of that Bronco
played-
Nation.
You were
He played-
out there all day.
Nice.
Wow. He played 36. Wow.
Nice.
It was painful. Yeah. They had two celebrity on one of the holes. They had two celebrity, players.
Mm-hmm.
First one was Tyson Degenhart, and then second one was Mattson.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the round, all the football players that were there got together and just started playing, and Mattson was there.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who wasn't?
Malachi.
Malachi Nelson. And the point is, I'm saying it's like all of those times that you're hanging out with all of the current players, the guys that you're playing with, you're kind of building rapport, you're building a lot of stuff. And if you miss out on that, how big of a deal is that? Or maybe he's a Barry Bonds and he just comes into he has his own locker room, he has his own stuff, he has his own equipment, he doesn't talk to the guys, he comes in, hits homers, and then leaves. Maybe that's what it is.
And
But
again,
it's
none of us
different.
know. None of us are taking shots at Malachi. I just think it's interesting. They're coming about it two different ways. We're super stoked for him. ESPN had him the number one recruit in the whole. There's something there, right? It's just interesting. It'll be interesting. I thought when he signed, he's our starting quarterback, but that's certainly not the way Dirk Cutter sees it right now.
I would suspect Maddox Madsen is going to start. But although I keep flip-flopping.
Wow.
Guys, you got to – that's part of my point. That's part of the thing that gets me all fired up. And when we do this show, Malachi Nelson wasn't signed to beat Georgia Southern by 100 points. He was signed and committed to Boise State to come here for 2 or 3 years to build something really special, and it's not going to happen in the first game.
Yeah.
So he's clearly a better quarterback skill-wise than Maddox Madsen, but it's about the team and it's about all the stuff, the intangible stuff you guys are talking about, and he's going to get there. I think he's smart. I've had a chance to corner his dad and talk to him, and his dad's a pastor. His dad's a football mind. His dad is a family disciplinarian. His dad has a younger son who's a wide receiver who's going to be a Power 5 recruit. So I think he knows and understands how to raise kids and put them in the right frame of mind. Just the fan base. Don't expect him to win a Heisman Trophy against Georgia Southern. Yeah. Let him get into the first couple weeks of the season. Maybe at one point he takes over for Maddox. Maybe by the end of the season he's winning a bowl game. And maybe next year he's crazy headlines, and then he just continues to build. I can see that. But we need to back off just a little bit.
Just don't tell me he's going to be part of a 2 QB system.
That would suck. That would suck.
I was at the Boise State at Utah game when Dirk Cutter put Nate Sparks in at the end of the game. He drove like 90-plus yards for the win. I was at that game.
One of my favorite.
And
I tell that story all the time.
I was there.
And
I was in that end zone that they scored.
Do you know why Dirk Cutter did that?
No, I was like
I covered that game.
Okay.
I was the beat writer then, and it was.
It's like he had a gut feeling or something.
I had a gut instinct. That's exactly what he said.
Who was starting over him?
Bart Hendricks started the entire game, and Bart Hendricks played the entire game, and they were down by 4 or 5 or whatever it was, like 100, like a minute and 15 seconds left. They were on the 94-yard line. Utah commits actually they were like on the 90, or they were like on the 2, and then Utah commits a 5-yard penalty, so they move it up to the 7, and then Nate Sparks come in cold.
Get out.
Cold. I hadn't seen him play for like a month. Just came in cold off the bench and led him down the field,
That's
97
insane.
yards in 60 seconds on a game-winning touchdown. And Dirk, why the hell did you do that? Gut instinct.
That's insane.
He's got that kind of feel.
I couldn't do it.
He's got that kind of feel, and I think we're going to see some of that this year.
My problem with what you said.
It won't be a 2-quarterback system, but I think there
It's
might
not
be
gonna
some
be like last year.
There might be some weird things.
Some
like
packages.
We just really need him to do well. Like, could Mad Dog take us to the playoff? And the reason I say I think he can is this. If he just gets it to Genty, gets it to the receivers, gets it to the tight end, no interceptions, no fumbles, get it to the guys. No, you don't get to talk.
Mute him.
Okay? You are about mutable right now. And so if he could get it, then he doesn't have to win the game. But we have a short window, man. And it's this year and next year. Well, and Genty's gone next year.
I trust Cutter to make that decision in November.
And Cutter's gone next year, too.
I agree
with that, although I thought he was gone last year and the year before and the year before. Maddox Madsen, hand off the ball. You got one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in the history of Boise State football. You got an offensive line where 4 of the 5 are coming back. You got a
good tight end.
You got a good tight end. You can dump it off to him. They brought in 2 other tight ends to be blockers on the edge because you got an unknown at right tackle and kind of a quiet guy on left tackle. So now we got some more edge blocking. Piece of cake. As long as this defense, to me, it comes down to the defense.
That's true.
It comes down to the defense. If the back half of that defense doesn't protect the passing game or the front half can't get more consistent pressure on the quarterback, Boise State's doomed, and it has nothing to do with the quarterback position.
I agree with everything you just said in 10 out of 12 games. But there's going to be 1 or 2 games that in college football, there's 1 or 2 games a year that the defense has schemed you up
Yeah.
and Ashton's hurt or Ashton's not, and you need your quarterback to win the game.
100%.
Can Mad Dog do it? I don't know. I'm not
he's
saying he
tried.
can't, but we need. Yeah, he did, and he was
tried.
close last year.
UCF, he
UCF.
tried a
We're
couple
getting
games.
Memphis.
All I'm saying is there's 1 or 2 games this season that whoever's playing quarterback's going to have to throw for 300 and a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter, and that's going to have to happen.
the guys-
It's not just giving it to Ashton, and there's going to be 1 or 2 times the quarterback has to put the team on his back and win the game.
Dirk may have another gut feeling.
He might.
Dude,
Maybe he
but-
throws in Malachi.
Yeah.
Legitimately speaking, Mad Dog came in cold at UCF, and he started driving.
Here. Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's done it.
Yeah.
And
We'll
to his
see.
credit, and he's got a good golf swing.
May the
He
best
threw it how
man
he put it.
win. I don't really care at this point.
He
Everyone's
does. I mean, he put it on the
infatuated
green
with,
for
with
150.
Malachi, but it's like, hey, if you don't trust Dirk Cutter, get out of here. You just trust Dirk.
I think
You got to trust Dirk.
And Malachi's going to be phenomenal by the end. Just give him a month.
Yeah.
Give him
so.
a month.
You don't think he'll? So the expectation should not be that he's QB1 day one.
I wouldn't
can't.
read too
Not
much
at this
into it either
point.
way. I don't feel like I have those expectations. I don't need that. I mean, I'm perfectly comfortable with Maddox Madsen going to Georgia Southern and winning a football game.
Sure.
100%.
I think it's
Yeah,
Mad
I
Dog
agree.
the first 2 weeks. We're gonna beat Georgia Southern no matter what.
Put Mad Dog-
We're
or-
gonna lose to Oregon no matter what. So you might as well let Anyways,
Then
we'll see.
there's a buy in Portland,
Put
State,
it-
There's,
right?
yeah, there's a bye.
Just put Malachi in for one play. First play,
Call him
hand it
starter?
off,
No.
and then take
Call
him
him a
out.
starter,
And then
baby.
take him out. Come on, it's
Do
worked
not
in
do
the
that.
past.
No, it hasn't
It's
worked.
worked.
It
They've
hasn't
done
worked.
it. They've at
No.
least done it.
Yeah, they've done it. The
They've
people
done
that
it.
are no longer at the school coaching.
I just worry.
Yeah,
I
those
mean,
people did it.
yeah.
You think Talon rips it
Bush.
up? What do you think Talon does in Arkansas?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big Talon fan.
Okay.
I mentally, and physically, he's pretty talented.
Yep.
But mentally, we'll see. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I think he's okay, but that's a big step. We'll see how it plays
How
out.
close of an eye will you keep on that? Do you
I'm
care?
curious. Oh, I am very curious. As a matter of fact, I have enough close of an eye. Did you guys see who Notre Dame plays next year before the Boise State game?
Arkansas.
Road trip to Arkansas.
Is it?
Ooh.
Wow.
They get Taylor Green and Malachi Nelson in back-to-back football games.
So you're saying you don't think Malachi and Maddox are both here going in? I mean, this is so far in advance, but going into next season, because if Malachi beats him out, right? This day and age, they're not both here next year, right?
I think Maddox is a guy's guy. A dude.
Yeah.
He wants to be in the locker room and he loves the brotherhood. I really, truly believe that that's important to him. He's the guy that when he signed with Boise State, we put him on Idaho Sports Talk, and every quarterback, shows up in January. He didn't want to do that because he was a baseball player and his baseball boys were important to him, and he wanted to do his senior season with his guys. I think he's that kind of a DNA guy. In this day and age, it's ridiculous. Now, don't hold me to this, but I don't think he's a transfer portal guy.
You never know.
Malachi Nelson, yeah, I don't know him well enough yet,
Yeah.
but obviously he's got that in his DNA right now.
Fair
Brandon,
enough.
it's time for 5 questions.
Okay.
Does that mean we've an hour already? This is really fast.
Almost. Yeah,
Whoa.
we're just over now.
Too loud.
No, that's good. That's good. I like your opening, by the way. Who did that?
Yeah. A guy off. Have you ever heard of Fiverr?
No,
Just some contractor rap guy. We said, hey, do a little thing for us.
that's
a little
pretty good. That's
jingle.
pretty good stuff. So
We'll send one over for KTIK.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We have to pay royalties for our crazy song. So
Yeah.
every
Good song.
day-
That's true.
Get you
Every
pumped up
day.
though, man.
Yeah, it does. It does.
All right, time for 5 questions with Mike Prater.
Oh, I'm kind of nervous.
Okay, sweat it out, Mike.
I don't get nervous.
Don't be nervous.
Sweat it out.
All right,
No,
all right.
be nervous.
Did
You don't
watch
want to go
any-
over.
Did you watch any of the 5 question segments to prep for this?
I did not.
It's all right. You don't need
Good.
prep. You're fine.
Uh-oh.
You'll do better.
So I'm already in the hole.
Yeah. Question 1, geography.
Uh-oh.
Other than the Chevy Malibu, name a car that has a location in its name.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of those.
Well,
Okay.
Other
just one car.
Chevy Mal is in Malibu, California.
Yes.
Why am I having a brain crash? I prepared for every question but that one.
Yeah.
Deep breath.
How many? This is a good one. This is a good one. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm not a car guy. I drive a Subaru, for God's sakes.
And for those that don't know, you're on Rock, Jock, and Pop Culture as a lifeline every day.
You've been doing
and you're
that
a good
for
trivia guy.
20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not when it comes to car makes and
Think
models.
about like your mountain towns, you know?
You can't give him hints.
Oh, how about the Tacoma truck? There's a Tacoma.
Oh, yeah, Tacoma.
Seattle.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's not
in
a mountain
Washington.
town, see? Yeah,
There you go.
I was thinking Tahoe.
Yeah,
I
Chevy
was thinking
Tahoe.
Chevy Tahoe. There is a
Telluride.
the Tacoma trucks are the small ones. I kind of like the small Tacomas.
Small Toyota.
I didn't think it's about Tacoma.
All right.
Hyundai Santa Fe.
Ooh,
we go.
we're going on.
Okay, we got it.
Oh, you got
Dakota.
it.
All
You're
right.
1 for 1 so
for
far.
one.
Good job.
Question number 2. Name the NFL place kicker who holds the record for most 50-plus
Oh, I know
yard field
this.
goals in a career. He has 80. The next person has like 58. 50-plus yard field goals in a career.
I think I know.
It's not Matt Prater, is it? Who's my son's name? I get that question all the time.
Final answer?
No. I'm going to go with Jason Elam.
Final answer?
Yeah.
It's Prater.
Matt Prater.
It's got to be Prater. Come on. You had it. That's your son's name?
Yeah, it is, actually.
Ah.
I actually got him a jersey. He's my son likes hockey. He doesn't like football.
Yeah.
But that comes up every
You
day.
had it. You
Are
named
you
it.
serious?
I'm dead serious.
Even with the DUI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the legal issues and substance abuse.
That helped him.
Oh, that just frustrates me. Okay.
Well, that was a gimme.
Yeah, if you would have seen previous episodes, they have to do with your name or where you're from or
Sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
sometimes.
I overthought that one. All right.
Question number 3. We're 1 for 2.
Uh-oh.
And again, not all these questions make sense. Question number 3. What James Taylor song am I thinking of? You know James Taylor, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
You've been to a concert or two?
One a long time ago.
We heard about
Which
this the
song
other day.
am I thinking of?
I don't know any James Taylor songs.
I wouldn't know either. Yeah.
I thought you did. Maybe that's my bad.
No. I tell the story of taking Chris Tormey to a James Taylor
what it
Yeah,
concert.
that's
is.
the story.
That's the story,
I
yeah.
thought you would have known.
But that was like in the 90s, and I don't like James Taylor. We could ask Johnny that question because he went to a James Taylor
Yeah,
concert
he
the other
went
night
to-
and was embarrassed to tell people that he
At
went.
Red Rocks, right?
James Taylor, yeah, I don't know.
I can't accept that.
Yeah, that's not good. What were you thinking?
Your smiling face. You don't know that song.
I don't.
Dang.
That story's hilarious, by the way, that Chris Tormey one.
That's
See,
a
I
true
thought
story.
you would have at least known a song because of that story.
I went. We lost Chris Tormey halfway through the concert. And we left him there. We left him at the concert. It's a true story because me and my buddy went off drinking because we couldn't stand James Taylor. I don't know why we went. It was a weird story. We were in a buffet line at a golf course and ended up at a concert with Chris Tormey. It was just really weird.
Yeah.
And-
Those stories that you have of like old time conferences and the coaches and the hanging out, it's like hilarious to me. Like some of those stuff you
Yeah.
got caught up in.
Carly Simon was that the no.
Yeah.
1 for 3.
One for the. You still got a chance.
I think you should do well
Stupid
on
Matt
this one.
Prater. Stupid Matt
You
Prater.
had it.
Answer both parts of the following question incorrectly. Answer both parts incorrectly. What is your name and what do you do?
I am Jack Armstrong, and I'm a postman.
Hey,
correct.
Hey, yeah. That's like a mind game.
Yeah.
It's like answer a question with a question.
I actually made the Armstrong part up, but I use Jack the postman a lot.
Oh, okay. Never heard that.
I use that a lot because there's just certain times I just don't want to tell people what I do.
Sounds like George Costanza and the engineer, the architect.
Yeah, Art
Seinfeld.
Vandelay.
Yeah, Art Vandelay.
Jack the postman.
2 for 4. We're 50% right now. You
Matt
can
Prater's still making me mad.
You had it.
You can only have one for the rest of your life.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so if you choose one, it doesn't mean you have to eat it every day. It just means if you choose one, the other one goes away. Onions or garlic?
Garlic.
That's correct. Garlic.
Wow.
I
I
love
would have got
garlic.
onions. I'm on onions.
I put
Garlic
garlic
is
on
good.
everything.
Really?
I had garlic for lunch.
I would accept that.
Like, how do you
Probably
eat it? How do you?
it's like-
Because I'm chicken breast and spinach and garlic.
Oh, so you're putting it on.
sauteed the night before, put it in some Tupperware, you're good to go.
And no onions with that.
No, but I'm not afraid of onions.
Yeah.
I like onions, but garlic.
Yeah.
There's
don't
garlic
know.
in my house. Although you won't find ketchup or mayonnaise in my house, but there's a big old bowl of garlic.
I don't know that garlic has a equal. I
Yeah.
mean, regarding like condiments or ingredients into
I mean,
a
like
recipe.
salt and pepper, like as common
Salt.
as that.
How about like
I put
cilantro?
red pepper on everything. I love red pepper.
I like
Cilantro's
cilantro because it's got this unique,
incredible. Cilantro's
powerful
good.
taste, kind of like garlic.
I learned today it's known as Chinese parsley.
What?
Oh, it looks like they look very similar.
They're close. I've picked up the wrong one several times.
I've done that.
Yeah.
You
That's-
got to do
that's
like
terrible.
tomatoes or onions or something.
Well, that
Would have
was
been
a question.
No, yeah.
Hey, 3 for 5.
I liked it.
Mike
Hey,
Prater.
all
Yeah.
right.
Pretty solid.
We're about so close to 4 for 5. Don't let it get to you.
That's
Let it
It
keep you
happened.
up at night.
Matt Prater has been keeping me up at night for many, many years.
But it's crazy. When I saw that stat, he had 80 plus 50-yard career field goals. The next guy was Janikowski, had like a 58.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Remember when
Doesn't-
Lane
or 40.
Kiffin rolled Janikowski out for like an 85-yard field goal once? He didn't even get like halfway
yeah.
there. It was like
That's a great stat about Matt Prater. though. I
Prater,
didn't
doesn't
know
he
that.
have the career long?
I don't.
Or is
I
that
don't
somebody
think
else?
so.
I thought that was Elam now, but
I know Elam had it. I don't know if it's been broken.
yeah,
since
63,
then, but-
64. Probably
Yeah.
64 now. Yeah, whatever it is.
Well,
You guys
Close.
are rock, man. You guys are rock. This has been a fun time and a blast, and hopefully you get more than one listener.
well, we'll get more than one, no doubt
more than
about
17.
we can tag JP in this, and he can listen in.
it. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. How many more years are you gonna do the ticket and everything? Like how many more years you got in you?
I'm old. I'm really old, so let's go 5.
Are you that coach that always says you're always 5 years away?
Probably. I like what I do, man. I like what I do. I mean, I love to go on vacation. I mean, I play a ton of golf, go to a ton of concerts, do a ton of travel. I tent camp every other weekend. My summers I have 100 days of just pure bliss in the summertime, but I love to work, man.
What do you like the most about what you do? Is it the radio? Is it the?
It's different every day.
Okay.
And hanging out with guys like you or listeners or being engaged. The challenge of engaging something in somebody every single day. It's really, really difficult. Plus, it's just something different. That's the greatest thing about the newspaper. I get 365 chances a year to be pretty good at what I do. And if I screw up on Tuesday, I got Wednesday, and I don't have time. It's kind of like a football player. He just lost a game, and he's got to go off and worry about the next game. So the media is awesome. I grew up in a media family with my father, and it was very important to me. And I just love the media. I love the interaction. I miss writing more. I got into this business not to put a microphone in my face or be on camera. I got a face for radio if you didn't notice. But so I miss writing more. But as you get older, you kind of want to maybe back off on that a little bit and throwing the microphone in your face and just ranting every day. I love it.
I think it'd be tough to scratch that itch if you were to retire, like an outlet to speak your opinion.
It would, and it would probably drive my wife crazy. I would have to tell her all kinds of opinion. But putting the show together every week is awesome. We have 35 15-minute segments we have to fill every single week.
Yeah.
And we wake up every Monday morning with 35 15-minute segments, and the team kind of puts all that together, and it's challenging and creative, and it pushes your brain, and then interaction and hanging out with guys like you, and it's sports, games, Saturdays. Let's go.
Do you still like writing for BNN?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I love writing still. I mean, I only do it now. I only write about 35 columns. I'm contracted with BNN to do 35 columns a year. So that means the other 17 weeks of the year I get to goof off. But I love writing, and it's fun. And even last night when I had to write 2 columns, because I wrote the one column about the schedule, and here comes the news.
true.
You throw 1,000-word term paper in the mail or in the garbage, and you kind of have to start over again. I like that challenge.
I would say, Prater, you are the only must-read. When you write a column, it's a must-read. I mean,
What about
say
BJ?
that honestly.
When he writes
BJ's
it?
are good, but he does more frequently. But like Prater's, because they're only less than once a week, it's like, what does Prater think about this? So I really like your columns.
Well, no, I appreciate that, and that's important to me, and that's awesome. And what BJ does and what everybody else does in this town, news. I'd like to think that I'm the opinion guy. I mean, there's not a lot of other columnists. There's not people on the radio 15 hours a week doing the post-game show for Boise State football, for another 90 minutes after every game. Everything I do, I wake up and I can have an opinion, and I love that. And as long as people are engaged and don't think I'm a complete total moron, I'm here for 5 more, and next year I'm probably here for 5 more again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Those guys are always out 5 years.
I know.
Always out 5 years.
That's a good analogy. So I probably need to address that in my personal life a little bit. But yeah, 5 years. You're stuck with me.
That's awesome. Mike Prater, thanks for joining us on the Shirts and Skins podcast. We had a blast.
Great time.
Great time.
You guys are spectacular. Keep up the good work,
Thanks.
guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Loved having you. We will catch you next time.
Subscribe.
Share
We're getting close
it.
to
Our next milestone is 300 YouTube subscribers.
let's
So
do
if
it.
you're there, click the subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time.